Give scholarship or honor to all those who put in 100% attendance. 413 students are getting 100% attendance, and 9 teaching and non-teaching community also join this. I hope next year they will compete with the students and get more awards for 10% attendance. In fact, I studied for 4 years in Loyola. Our chief just studied about 20 years later in the same college, both in Loyola as well as our college. And in all the 4 years, 2 years BA and 2 years MA, I had 10% attendance for 4 years. I want many of you to do this. It is possible. And I would like the teachers also to be a model. Unless it is absolutely necessary, don't go for a holiday. The availability of teacher is very, very important, and I would like to request them that this should slowly change, and they should also compete with the students. Then the students will be much better. They will have much better attendance. Of course, we don't insist on attendance for those who secure 9%, 90% mark, but many of them they attend. So I take this opportunity to congratulate all of them and all those who are getting their awards and scholarship today. The Vice Chancellor made a presentation about the 40 years of history. I saw that 180 students, we began in 1984 with 15 teachers. And the 1 month salary bill, including electricity and petrol, was 1 lakh rupees in those days. For me, it was difficult to get 1 lakh per month. Now it is 1 crore per day, 30 crores per month. That's what it is growing. It is possible because of parents. I always remember the parents, because but for them you will not be here and we will not be here. But for my parents, I would not be standing here, because he was a small farmer, but at the same time he was able to send me to college. Of course, my elder brother is here, who was also responsible. In fact, he postponed his marriage for me because of my studies. And I always remember the services rendered. It can't be service, they consider as a duty to educate their son. And that's what is happening all over the country. I am always worried about the poor and the middle class, because the government is not spending much on education. That's the topic I want to expose today. In fact, Justice is here. We are very much behind the world in higher education. The average, what we call GER, gross enrollment ratio, that is between the age of 18 and 23, those who get higher education, they are called, in the GER, they are calculated. The world average is 40%. But India, we are lagging behind with 28%. Of course, there is difference between state and state. Tamil Nadu is number 1, Kerala is number 2, Bihar is the last. And that's because we are not spending much on education. In fact, the new education policy talks about spending 6% of the GDP on education. This is the same thing which was recommended 60 years ago by Kothari Commission. And after 60 years, we say we want to spend 6%. Even though this is 4th year, the education policy has been proclaimed, but it has not happened. The recent budget presented by our Honorable Finance Minister, among the 15 lakh crores, only 1 lakh and odd crore is allotted to education, which comes to less than 2.5% of the total budget. So I think it is time now that our governments and political parties attach much importance to education. In fact, the guest of honor was talking that India will become a developed country. It is possible, but without education you can never become a developed country. Because you see the history of all the developed countries, all of them are concentrated on education. And their GER varies from 60% to 100%. That's what we want in this country. And it means that unless the poor and the middle class are taken care of, they cannot have higher education. And how is it possible? Both the union government, federal, central government and the state governments have to increase the budget allocation for education. And at present, the per capita expenditure is much, much lesser than many countries. To give you a concrete example, the OECD countries, their average is $17,000 per annum per capita expenditure on higher education. $17,000 per annum, whereas US spends $35,000 per annum. The biggest country, China, in population, that's the only country compared to, anyway, we have overtaken them in population without any government help. And they spend $2,400 per capita, and India spends $260. Now you understand the difference, why we are lagging behind in higher education. Unless the changes, it is not possible for the country to come up economically. And there is a world ranking in public expenditure on education, and India's ranking is 155 out of 190. So we have to improve in order to see that everybody has a good living. And also the country's growth should not go to only a few people. It's what is happening in this country because of education is not available to all. No doubt we are growing. We are the 5th largest economy of the world. We are very happy. But when it comes to per capita income, our ranking is 141. Not only that, I don't know whether you saw the report, it came a few days before. The billionaires list in the world. Now India has captured 3rd position. First comes US, second comes China, and third comes India with 205 billionaires in the world. If you have 8,500 crores, you will be called a billionaire. In 2000, we had only 9 of them in this country. In the last 24 years, India has grown, and we have made this 9 into 205. And the top 10% of the population of this country own 80% wealth of the country. In fact, we have overtaken US in inequality. There in the US, America, the top 1% of the population own 37% wealth of the country. In India, the top 1% own 58% wealth of the country. That is because the people are not aware. People are not vigilant. People do not have education. This is where not only the economy, even the democracy depends on education. Unless